Hey everyone, I'm Brian Craig. If you're new here, make sure that you subscribe and click the notification bell. Everyone also that's already subscribed, like the video, all right? Now, I got a few things I want to talk about here with you. This business with Joe Rogan, I'm real excited about because Joe Rogan very well may be the first super prominent person that's kind of a nonpartisan person. He's not a Republican, because I guess he's a libertarian. Is Joe Rogan a libertarian? But he's the first like non-political person that's not labeled bias one way or the other to stand up against the woke culture. So I want to get to that in a minute, but I wanted to show you guys one or two other things too before we get to that. Well, just one thing, because this is a good one, and I got to see this myself. I have not watched this yet, but there is this ad right here, which is a new ad that's been put out about Joe Biden. And I've not watched it, so I'll watch it with you guys, and then we'll process it together.
Joe Biden was first elected to Washington in the 70s. Now, he's bringing the 70s back to America with oil shortages and gas lines, inflation, and unemployment. If you think Jimmy Carter was a disaster in the 70s, just wait. Joe Biden's oil crisis is only the beginning. Instead of moving America forward, Biden is taking America backward. We can do better. Visit backwardsbiden.club. Sign the petition. Reject backward Biden's crisis-creating agenda. Joe
I like
Biden
that.
was first elected to Washington.
Yeah, it was good the first time, but yeah, I like that. That's a good one. That's a good spot. It says everything you need to know about Biden. But you know what I wonder, okay? They want you to sign the petition. I've never heard of this group before, Backwards Biden. I feel like maybe that's a trap, right? Like this wasn't put out by conservatives. This was put out by Democrats so they can, we can help them compile their enemies list by signing all your name and everything to their petition. So I don't know if I'd be putting my name on a petition of a group I've never heard of before. They very well could be Democrats, and they got you on the list. We're coming after you. But let's get into this Joe Rogan thing, because I think the Joe Rogan thing is pretty important. This woke culture that we're going through has just gotten out of control. And I think most people agree. Is there anyone who does not agree that the woke movement with the Twitter mob have just gotten way out of control and way out of hand? I think they have. And the problem is no one's really had the guts to stand up to them. I know, people criticize them all the time, but if your standard Republican, your standard MAGA guy is out there going after them, it's like they might as well have, I have headphones on, they might as well have headphones on, blocking out all sound, they don't hear it. And Joe Rogan, I think he's kind of a nonpartisan kind of guy. I assume he's a libertarian. I like Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan back in the Fear Factor days. I didn't watch him when he was on the sitcom, but I did like Fear Factor. I thought he was pretty good there. And I got a lot of respect for Joe Rogan. How can you not have respect for Joe Rogan, right? I mean, he was a supporting actor on a sitcom, and now look, all right? He's got more people listening to him than listen to the network news. And he signed this $100 million deal. I mean, this amazing thing. I mean, Joe Rogan is a great American success story. And I do think people on both sides of the political spectrum listen to Joe Rogan and respect him. And this out-of-control woke culture could very well be reined in with Joe Rogan being the first person to make the move that'll silence him. Now, so this is what's going on here. Let's read this article. This article is in the Daily Mail. It's being reported in a lot of other sources. Joe Rogan goes after woke warriors and warns it will eventually get to the point where straight white men are not allowed to talk. And there's no getting around that. I mean, that's the tone that you're getting from people, right? Right? White men, white people, but white men in particular, white straight men have had too much say for too long, and their time was in the past, and now since white men were the only voice for so long ago, today's white men, straight white men, shouldn't speak on anything. That is a true attitude from the left today. It is, and it's bigoted, it's racist. Martin Luther King's dream was, a colorblind society. That's what he talked about. A world where his daughters are not judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And what the left has become is completely judging people by their skin color and other factors too that really should not be important. Gender, sexuality, etc., etc., etc. So let's get into this. Podcast host Joe Rogan warned in a recent interview of giving in too much to the demands of woke culture. The host was responding to scrutiny he's received since penning a $100 million deal last May with Spotify for the exclusive rights to his show, which draws around 11 million listeners to each episode. I mean, he's bigger than Rush Limbaugh ever was. And that's amazing. That's amazing. Far outstripping the audiences of live TV hosts on both sides of the political aisle. He has taken criticism for comments he made about transgendered issues and race-related topics, and most recently about vaccines. But he says he's not going to bend to the thought police. If you keep going further and further down the line, and if you get to the point where you capitulate, where you agree to all these demands, it'll eventually get to straight white men are not allowed to talk, Rogan told guest Joe List. And that is definitely a move that in many circles is a reality. You got to have a lot of respect for him. You know, he signed this $100 million deal. He could sit back and be comfortable and not be controversial and keep that deal coming without any speed bumps, but he still tells it like it is. This is Rogan. He went on, I'm not joking. It really will get there, he said. It's that crazy. And I'll tell you, that is true. That is true. Rogan did not dismiss those seeking greater representation, noting that people of color have been silenced throughout history. That is true, but history is history. We're living in today. He accused woke warriors of not always being sincere. He said he believed the demands of the woke could become endless and warned of those manipulating the conversation around race and privilege. There's a lot of people who are taking advantage of this weirdness. See, now that's a word you're not allowed to even use anymore. Weirdness. How dare you judge and say something's weird? It is weird. There's a lot of people who are taking advantage of this weirdness in this culture, and that becomes their thing, he said on his show last week. Their thing is calling people out for their privilege, calling people out for their position. Ultimately, Rogan said it was an issue of mutual respect. We just got to be nice to each other, man, he said. I agree with that. I don't judge. I am open to all opinions. Aren't you? By the way, you know, they try to cancel Rogan and a lot of other people for things they say. Here you have the Associated Press has a terrorist organization, Hamas, operating out of their news building. Why isn't anyone canceling out the Associated Press for that connection? Fox News commentator Tommy Lahren tweeted, well, and then she tagged Joe Rogan, is right. It's open season on straight white men, and you all need to stop bowing to the mob. Stop apologizing for being straight white men. Paul Joseph Watson of The Spectator wrote in agreement, podcast giant Joe Rogan has warned that the logical conclusion of woke culture, or of woke cancel culture, is that all straight white men will be forbidden from talking or even leaving their own houses. I know that sounds crazy. It is crazy. But it is quickly becoming a reality. Welcome to everyone who's joined. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure you like the video, everyone. I see a lot of straight white males angry about this. Mike Loftus tweeted in response to reactions about Rogan's comments. If you're not a straight white male, then you have no firsthand experience of what he's saying. Maybe you're the exact woke mob he's talking about. No. I mean, you got to really look at where Joe Rogan is today. 11 million each episode. That's not a week. What did Rush Limbaugh have per week at his peak, right? I think it was 20 million? 20 million? I used to hear that number a lot, 20 million. He's got that. He's got more than that every 2 days, Joe Rogan. Think about that. Yeah. Goes on. The former Fear Factor host said in an April episode of the Joe Rogan Experience that young adults should not get the coronavirus vaccine. His podcast, previously mainstays at the top of the Apple podcast charts, have disappeared from the platform. He's now easily the most popular podcast host on Spotify. No doubt about that. In a previous statement, when Rogan has drawn controversy before, the company has said it was important to have diverse voices on its platform. You know, it's so interesting because liberals will tell you they're woke, they're tolerant, they're open, and it's the right, the MAGA people, that are against this group and that group and this. Conservatives want everyone to just leave each other alone. And the book burners, woke culture is a new name for book burners. People don't really have books to burn anymore. You have to burn iPads and iPhones and stuff if you were burning books, because everyone's got the thing on their phone. But it's the left that are the book burners. And you know what? It's always been the left that have been the book burners. And it goes on to a lot of other things. But, you know, this is, I think this is a great moment, because Joe Rogan reaches so many people. He really is nonpartisan. And for him to take this stand without apologizing, it would be very easy for him to apologize, to sit back. But he's not. He's taking it on. And this is the beginning of something good. Because, you know, these he calls them woke warriors. I like that. You know, these woke warriors. They get on, you know, it's a Twitter mob. They get on there, they harass people, they get a hashtag going, and boom, they take someone's livelihood away. That's not right. And, you know, they're out there destroying people. Most of the time, they're out there attacking people, and they have fake names on their profiles and everything else. Nobody knows who they are. It's just not right. It's just not right. And, you know, this here, this is getting very insane right here. Okay, this is a scary thing to me. What's going on in the military? There's a purge going on of the military. And there was an attempt during the McCarthy era of a purge of so-called communists from the military. And now it's being done not by some extremist kook senator, although Joe McCarthy was proven right in the end. History, looking back on Joe McCarthy, he was absolutely right. There was a major communist infiltration at all levels of this country, and they've made their way in, and now many of them are in government. But this purge, look at this. Purge at the Pentagon outrages Defense Secretary woke race advisor plans thrall of military personnel's social media for extremist and concerning behavior using a private company to circumvent the First Amendment. Now, when you're in the military, you do give up some of your civil liberties. All right, you can't criticize the commander-in-chief. Okay, but I've never heard of something like this. They're launching this basically is an investigation into every member of the U.S. Armed Forces of every branch. And you know what they're really rooting out? You know what they're looking for? MAGA. They're looking for MAGA. They don't want MAGA in the military. The Pentagon is planning to continuously thrall the social media accounts of military personnel for extremist behavior and views. And you know what? I wouldn't be so surprised if they're not looking through their spouses' accounts. You know? And will use a private security company to shield itself from concerns that it's violating First Amendment rights. This is frightening. This is Big Brother times a million going on right here. The pilot program, which is being created as part of the Biden administration's plan to crack down on domestic extremism, again, that's MAGA, will result in the ongoing monitoring of military personnel for concerning behaviors, according to sources and internal documents obtained by The Intercept. The so-called concerning behaviors haven't been explicitly identified, leading to concerns that social media commissars could squash protected free speech, just as big tech has, in some cases, shut down opinions, such as Facebook locking out Trump's accounts when Amazon yanked Parler, etc., etc. The program is being spearheaded by Bishop Garrison, a senior advisor to President Biden's Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, who has previously said Trump and his supporters are racist, and is an advocate for critical race theory and the 1619 Project, which teaches that America is inherently a racist nation founded on slavery. The 1619 Project, I have the original critical race theory book. I just got it, and I started reading it. And I'll report on it after I've read the book. But the 1619, what they're doing with that is really, it really burns me. the founding of this country, the United States, is 1776. The critical race theory, the 1619 Project, they want to change the official date of the founding of the United States to 1619, which is when they say the first slave was brought to the New World. And the reason they want to do that is because the United States didn't exist until 1776, and then for many years there was a revolution going on, and really wasn't a free country for a while until the Redcoats surrendered. Then we almost lost it again in the War of 1812. But regardless of all that, this country ended slavery in the New World. The Europeans brought it here. The Americans ended slavery in the New World. And because of that, and people realize that, you can't get reparations from the United States, but if they go back to 1619, they can blame us for it. That's what that's about. It's really, really bad. Garrison, a former foreign policy advisor on Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, well, they said unsuccessful. I like that. Is a director of Human Rights First, a nonprofit that wants to demilitarize and promote racial justice in law enforcement agencies and pushes for refugee protection and asylum, among other things. The Pentagon's social media monitoring program has already sparked backlash over concerns about free speech and fears military members could be targeted for lack of wokeness. Yeah. Well, you're here now, Linda. You overslept this morning. That's okay. Welcome, everyone. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. And everyone watching, like the video if you don't mind. The program will likely use keyword searches on social media to identify military personnel with extremist political views or behaviors. And again, extremists, they're not looking for Nazis. They're looking for MAGA. Furious critics have been quick to slam news of the potential program, saying the keyword search strategy is flawed because it's an invasion of privacy. They also argue it will return false positives and will undermine morale if military personnel are constantly second-guessing what they post on social media. Yeah. I mean, this is crazy stuff. But you know what? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Even if they officially announce that they're not doing it, they will do it. Once, if you build it, they will come, right? Once they have this technology, which they have already, they're going to use it. They're going to use it. So this purge of MAGA, there's no, listen, the military is filled with very diverse people, right? Of every diversity we have in America. And one of the diversities inside the military and inside our society is diversity of opinion, diversity of thought. But what brings people together in the military, which is what should be bringing us together in the country, we have different opinions on everything, right? There's people that, about the transgendered issues, have different opinions. People like Trump, people like Biden. I like Trump, obviously. But we're still supposedly brought together by the same culture, the culture of America, the United States. And what they're doing with the 1619 Project, with critical race theory, by labeling political opponents extremists that have to be rooted out, MAGA, they're changing our culture. They're changing our culture, or they're attempting to change our culture, is what really is going on here. And this is a part of it. In the military, there have always been people of every type of thought and opinion on everything. I've never heard of anything like this before. What matters is they do their job and they follow orders in the chain of command. It doesn't matter who they support for president. But now it does to the Biden administration, and there's hardly a mention in the media about it. Oh, let me do a quick plug for MyPillow, because MyPillow does sponsor me, and great deals at MyPillow. I'll get back to some other stories in a minute, but if you use the promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, there's great deals on MyPillow products. And if you go and order on the website, you can take advantage of this to save another $10 off the already big deals that they have there. And I have so much here from MyPillow. The MyPillow pet bed with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, just $19.99. I have this for my dog and my cat. The MyPillow itself, I sleep on this. My wife sleeps on the MyPillow. My daughter sleeps on the MyPillow, just $29.98 with the promo code KANE at checkout. I just got these this week, and these are absolutely amazing. The MyPillow My Slippers, save 40% with the promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. These are great Father's Day gifts. They come in styles for both men and women. You can see that, many different colors. These are the ones I have right here. These moccasin ones right there I have. The mattress topper, 30% off with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout here at mypillow.com. I have this as well. And this mattress topper turns your whole bed into a MyPillow. It's great. So there's many things here for Father's Day. Oh, yes, the MyPillow bathrobes, great Father's Day gift. I have this as well. I have this one right here, the gray one, 30% off with the promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. So go to mypillow.com, use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout, and support me and my content and my podcast and the Steve Kane Show and everything else if you don't mind doing that. And oh, yes, Parler. Okay, this is my Parler, Brian Craig Show on Parler. And, Parler's back in the Apple App Store. I know as of this moment, it's not in the Google Store, but it will be. And they've been having a few glitches today. I've been using it, so if you want to follow me there, Brian Craig Show. And I just posted this stream up right before I went live. So Brian Craig Show on the Parler. Okay, now this is another example of Kevin McCarthy. I call Kevin McCarthy, I call him, well, he's a traitor. He's a traitor. He's Liz Cheney. He's Liz Cheney in a suit, and he cannot be trusted. And time again, something comes out about Kevin McCarthy that shows that he is not MAGA, that he's not supportive of President Trump, and he's a Republican establishment, just like Mitt Romney, just like Liz Cheney and George W. Bush and all the rest. Kevin McCarthy says he won't support the Democrats' Capitol Riot Commission because it ignores BLM and Antifa violence in American cities. Kevin McCarthy, just like the rest of the Republican establishment, don't want to get to the bottom of the Capitol breach. Don't believe what he's saying here. He does not want it looked into. Kevin McCarthy is not with us. He's part of the Washington swamp. I believe Kevin McCarthy is a rhino, and he's going to now. This commission. I'm not saying that this commission would turn up anything, because congressional commissions rarely turn up anything. Okay, it's a bunch of showboating by the senators and the House members. That's what they're really about. But it would get people looking into it and talking, and more things could come out. It may not come out in the hearings, but publicly things could come out as the media are covering this and more people are talking. And Kevin McCarthy, he's working for Pelosi here. Don't you get it, guys? He's working for Pelosi. Yeah, somebody in the chat just called Kevin McCarthy Kevin Pelosi. I like that. Kevin Pelosi McCarthy. I like that. We gotta say Kevin Pelosi McCarthy so people know we're talking about Kevin McCarthy. He's working. He's trying to give Pelosi an out. Well, we can't have the commission into the breach because we need bipartisan support for such a thing, and the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, won't allow it. That's, rhino. A listener messaged me. He said what we should call them. I thought rhino was too mild. He said we should call them rats. Republicans against Trump, right? Call them a rat. Instead of rhinos, call them rats. What do you guys think? Is rats, Republicans against Trump, better than rhino? Rhino's too mild. Rhino's too mild. And I like rhinos. That's just me. This is unbelievable here too. I shouldn't say unbelievable because sadly all these things are true and I can believe them all. It just sometimes I feel like I'm living in another reality. The Biden administration plans to release 3 Guantanamo Bay inmates, including a 9/11 conspirator and Osama bin Laden's suspected bodyguard, who have been held for nearly 20 years. I'm not going to go through the details of what these guys did in particular, but here we are approaching 20 years since September 11th, and I don't know how many of you do not remember 9/11, because some of you may be too young to actually remember it with an adult mind. That was one of the scariest days of my life, okay? Scary day. Because when that attack happened, a lot of people forget, when that attack happened, at first, 3,000 Americans died. Now, I want you to think about that. 3,000 Americans died. That is a greater loss of life than at Pearl Harbor after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. A greater loss of life on 9/11 of Americans than at Pearl Harbor. And look at that, the whole world went to war after that event. And people thought at the time that there were 50,000 dead, including the hijackers. They thought because there's so many people working those buildings, they thought they killed 50,000. But people in New York, at least then, went to work a little later in the morning, and a lot of them got out. So, but 3,000, a greater loss of life than Pearl Harbor, and he's letting one of the conspirators out. These guys are lucky to be alive. These should be life sentences. Shouldn't even be a question. It's disgusting. And where is the mayor of New York? Is he stuffing his face with French fries and dressing up in make-believe police uniforms? And the governor? They should be leading. Cuomo and de Blasio should be leading the attacks on Biden for this is disgusting that this is happening. This is disgusting. And it's just not right. Just not right. You know? And here's another story. Tlaib confronted Biden in Michigan after accusing him of letting Netanyahu commit Gaza war crimes. President Biden tells the Palestinian American, "I pray that your grandmom and family are well." Well, yeah, I do too. But Israel was attacked. Israel was attacked, and I understand she's got family there, but Israel was attacked. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to just allow it to happen? Now the President Trump, I like this. Don't give money to Karl Rove. Yeah. Former President Trump recently asked his supporters to not give any money to veteran Republican strategist Karl Rove due to his criticisms of the last GOP president. Trump said in a statement issued by his political action committee, Save America, "Everyone is so tired of watching Karl Rove on Fox News. He's played the game for decades, but all he and his buddies want to do is take your money and run." See, Karl Rove, he doesn't care if the Republicans win elections or lose elections. He just wants to get paid for being a campaign manager. And he's right on the money. He's another rhino. We're calling them rants now, Republicans against Trump. You know, these swamp creatures that are there, no matter who's in power, they don't care that the Republicans win or lose. And, you know, what Trump is doing is absolutely amazing. He's telling everybody to send their money to him, to his PAC, through his website, DonaldJTrump.com, as opposed to these Republican whatever groups. And I get text messages. You guys may too. I get text messages every day. I don't know who they're from asking for money. Sometimes they have Trump's name in them. I got one today that had Melania's name in it. I don't know. If you're going to donate money, go to Donald Trump's website and donate money there. And what Donald Trump's doing is absolutely amazing, because the power of a politician and a political leader in a political party is controlling the money, controlling the donations. That's how Pelosi became Speaker the first time. She was the top fundraiser for the Democrats in Congress. And that's how she, that's her road to power. And now she's Speaker again, and that's how she controls it. So Donald Trump knows if he's the one that people are donating their money to, the individuals, that gives him tremendous power, and that's what he's doing. So I think that's pretty darn good. That's the. I want to get to that at the end, because I got a big thing I'm going to end with here. So it's pretty concerning to me. I don't really get involved in these transgender issues too much. I know a lot of people like Michael Knowles and things like that cover it. There's so many things that are going on in the country that are just so terrible that we've got to speak about, that this one I just don't get involved in it too much. But I wanted to comment on this one, okay? Major Christian denomination elects first openly transgender bishop. The Evangelical Lutheran Church in America last week elected Reverend Megan Rower to serve as bishop for the Sierra Pacific Synod, okay? I'll say this about that. I'm Catholic. Catholic is not a Christian denomination. The Protestants have a bunch of denominations, Baptist, Lutherans, etc., etc., etc. In fact, Lutheran was the first denomination because they left the church, right? But every major denomination in America, the Baptist, the Methodist, the Lutherans, Every denomination of Christianity has two wings of it. A liberal wing of the church, of the denomination, and a conservative wing. Okay? And the liberal wings they started by having women priests and ministers, and now and then openly gay, and now transgender. I don't like to condemn people for their Christianity or anything, because I'm a Christian, so I don't. That's one of the reasons I don't speak out on it too much. I just don't like criticizing Christians. But here's the thing. Church is filled with sinners. We're all sinners, right? There's only one person who wasn't, Jesus. But there's a problem here. Sinners belong in churches. No, Catholicism, the Catholic Church is not a denomination. We are Christianity. The Catholic Church is the church. Yeah, the Catholic is not a denomination of Christianity. Jessica just mentioned that. That's true. But the sinners are all welcome in church. That's who needs to be in church the most, right? But the problem is when you take the sinners who don't ask for forgiveness of their sins and you make them the leaders and role models, that's something a little different. So this is, I don't know. I wouldn't be going to this left-wing Lutheran church. That's just me. Now this guy here, I got something I want to end with, so don't go anywhere. I want to mention this thing here first. This descendant of Robert E. Lee that was all over the media, including, I think he was on The View. He's not a descendant of Robert E. Lee. And the left have been using this guy, and it was a fact check from the Washington Post. Okay, and look at this, Fox News. A fact check from the Washington Post concluded that there is no evidence that a man who claimed to be a descendant of Robert E. Lee was actually related to the Confederate general. By the way, Robert E. Lee was a Democrat. In the weeks following the events of Charlottesville, Reverend Robert W. Lee became a national figure for denouncing his apparent relative, Robert E. Lee. He was out there saying, "I'm Robert E. Lee's descendant. I want to tear down his statues. My name is Robert Lee IV. I am a descendant of Robert E. Lee, the Civil War general whose statue was at the center of violence in Charlottesville." Lee began his address to the audience. "We have made my ancestor an idol of white supremacy, racism, and hate. As a pastor, it is my moral duty to speak out against racism, America's original sin. Today I call on everyone with privilege and power to answer God's call to confront racism and white supremacy head on." Well, we're all opposed to white supremacy. And it goes on. Yeah, he was on The View. Here he is on The View. Okay, now I'll just tell you this, okay? This is nothing I came up with. My wife told me this on our podcast when we were talking about this way back, I don't know, a few years ago, and I think this is right on the money. Every single statue that the woke leftists tear down, Robert E. Lee, for example, every statue they tear down or attempt to tear down or want removed is a statue of a Democrat like Robert E. Lee. Every single one of them. The Civil War generals, all Democrats. All these old Klansmen like Nathan Bedford Forrest and everything, all Democrats. And what my wife said was this, and I thought this was pretty sharp and right on the point. What they're doing is not trying to cancel out symbols of hate and racism. They're trying to take down the history, the historical artifacts and statues and monuments of the country that show that the Democrat Party, same one we have today, is the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of segregation, and the internment of Americans of Japanese descent too. That's why they're taking down all these things, because that's right. They don't want people to look back and if you go and see one of these things, Robert E. Lee statue, right? What happens today with Robert E. Lee statue? People see it, they go up, read the plaque, and then they take out their iPhone and they Google Robert E. Lee, and then he was a Democrat? I didn't learn in school that he was Nathan Bedford Forrest? By the way, if you don't know, he was a Civil War general who was the founder of the Klan. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Democrat? I didn't know that. I'm reading on my phone. That's what my wife says, and I think she's right. That's why they're taking all these things down. It's not about political correctness. They're trying to wipe out their very own history of the Democrat Party because minorities have woken up and realized that the Democrats are the party of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, etc., etc., etc. So that is what that is all about. Now, this, I talked about this on the radio today, but I think it's important enough to go over again, because this story, it's scary with goosebumps. I have goosebumps with this story. Okay, Chris Miller, who was the Secretary of Defense at the end of Trump's first term. This is crazy. Donald Trump's Defense Secretary, Chris Miller, had 3 goals during the final days of his administration. 1, avoiding a major war. 2, avoiding a military coup. And 3, avoid sending troops to do battle with citizens on American streets. Okay. And it goes into some details about troop movements and things. This story, which I have not seen reported in the mainstream media, this is the Secretary of Defense avoiding a military coup. And what they don't ask him in this article, by the way, Miss Mexico is now Miss Universe. What happened? What happened where he had to intervene somehow to avoid a military coup? And by the way, as the Secretary of Defense, he's not part of the military. Okay? He's not part of the military. He's part of the civilian chain of command. So a military coup would bypass him. Oh yeah, by the way, my wife put the link to my merch store. This shirt right here, which is an awesome shirt, isn't it? This is an awesome shirt. This shirt is one of the many shirts available in my merch store. There's a link in the description of the video. BrianShirts.com. Brian singular, shirts plural. BrianShirts.com. So something happened here that made Defense Secretary Chris Miller think that the military was making a move to remove President Trump from office. Now, what I think happened, but of course the reporters don't ask, and hopefully they will, what happened here, I believe, is after the breach of the Capitol, Nancy Pelosi, it was reported, and I think she's even talked about it, but I know it was reported. If she hasn't mentioned it openly yet, I can't recall, that she spoke with the generals from the Joint Chiefs. There was some discussion of the military taking action against President Trump. That's regardless of your feelings about President Trump, that's high treason. And the way that you avoid the military coup is you arrest the coup conspirators, which could be, who knows, it could include Pelosi, you know. So this is a story that the media don't want to deal with, and it's one of the biggest stories maybe in our lifetimes, because something happened. There was something happened that made Defense Secretary Chris Miller actually think there was a possibility. Yeah. Now make sure that you subscribe. All right, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Click the notification bell and like the video. That helps a lot. But let's end where I started for people that weren't here in the beginning. This is a new commercial that has come out about Biden. I think it's a good one.
Joe Biden was first elected to Washington in the 70s. Now he's bringing the 70s back to America with oil shortages and gas lines, inflation, and unemployment. If you think Jimmy Carter was a disaster in the 70s, just wait. Joe Biden's oil crisis is only the beginning. Instead of moving America forward, Biden is taking America backward. We can do better. Visit backwardsbiden.club. Sign the petition.
I like that.
Reject backward Biden's crisis-creating agenda.
I like
Joe
that.
Joe Biden was first elected.
It plays in 1973. Oh my goodness, the Vietnam War was going on when he was elected. Now, what I said at the beginning when I played this, and I wanted to play because I wanted to tell you guys again that I wanted you to see it if you missed the beginning of the video. I've never heard of this group before, and me personally, I would not sign this petition because maybe it probably is an okay group, but it also could be Democrats putting together an enemies list by you signing your name and all your contact information. Then they'll find you. They got you. Now they got a list. You're on the enemies list. I'm a little leery about signing things from a group I've never heard of before. That's just me. All right. Hey, listen, everyone. If you're new, my name's Brian Craig. And if you subscribe and you click the notification bell, you'll see me live stream on the radio every morning. Here I am at home in my home studio, but I live stream every morning from 6 until 9 a.m. Eastern for 3 hours every day. I'm on a whole bunch of radio stations, and I take calls live on the radio from our radio listeners. and people that watch us here on YouTube Live too. So make sure you're subscribed, click that notification bell, and like the video. Thanks for watching, everyone.